the thing you have to do to create wealth is to focus on creating income-producing assets. The reason broke people are broke is because they are their only income-producing asset. The reason rich people are rich is because we accumulate income-producing assets. In fact, Daniel Priestley, in his book, Key Person of Influence, he says, income follows assets. So the more assets you have, the more income you have that can follow those assets. So I'm gonna show you how, I discovered this principle. It's easier to make $1 million a month than it is to make $1 million a year. And I know that sounds crazy. I get it, it sounds crazy. I'm gonna prove it to you though in this video, okay? How about that? So it sounds so crazy. It's easier to make $1 million a month. It's easier to make $1 million a month than it is to make $1 million a year. It's easier to make $1 million in a week than it is to make $1 million in a month. And it's easier to make $1 million in a day than it is to make $1 million in a week. And it's easier to make $1 million in an hour than it is to make $1 million in a day. And I know for sure because I've done all of those multiple times. So I'm not talking from theory. I'm not regurgitating something I read in a book or heard at a seminar. This is how I live my life. Okay, so how can I prove to you that it's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than it is to make a little money over a long period of time? Well, here's how I can prove it. Because I was talking to a physicist. In fact, I was flying from San Diego, California to Baltimore, Maryland. This was many, many years ago. And this young kid, I say young kid, he's 27. So to me, he was young, right? Because I was in my 40s then, right? And so he sat down beside me. I said, so what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a physicist. I said, I love physics. The only thing I could think of to say. And so we talked about physics from San Diego to Baltimore. For like 4.5 hours, we talked about physics. And one of the questions I asked him, I said, and his name was Austin, and he lives in Boston, so I always remembered him, Austin from Boston, the physicist, right? So I said, Austin from Boston, I got a question for you. What is your favorite physics principle? Like, what would you ask a physicist if you sat down? I mean, surely that would be one of the questions, right? So I said, what's your favorite physics principle? He said this. He said that all principles are microcosms of each other. I said, ooh, that's so good. Ooh, that's so good. I said, but so I don't mess it up, I think I know what you mean when you say that, but you tell me what you mean so that when I share with other people what you said, I won't tell them my interpretation of what you mean, but your interpretation. He said, okay. He said, if you take a principle from any arena and you put it in a different arena, it still has to be true. I said, ooh, that's so good. And he said, like if you take a principle that works in transportation and you apply it to finance, it still has to be true. I like, okay, that makes sense. And so from that day forward, I've been thinking about, every time I find a principle, oh, I wonder what other arena this can go in. I read a book called Innovation Secrets of Steve Jobs by Carmine Gallo. And he said, and the book was a great book, he said the reason Steve Jobs was able to change the world, in fact, Steve Jobs is the only entrepreneur I can think of that revolutionized 5 different industries in his lifetime, which is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. He revolutionized the computer industry, he revolutionized the phone industry, he revolutionized the music industry, the movie industry, and the tablet industry. Revolutionized them, like totally turned them on their heads. And Carmine Gallo said the reason he was able to do that is because he had so many unique, broad experiences that he could see the connection between seemingly unrelated things. So when he looked at his computer and he saw the ugly green blinking font on a dark background on a computer screen, he said, these fonts are ugly. But he took a calligraphy class when he was in college. He said, why don't we make fonts beautiful? And it's that kind of connection that changed everything for him. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna prove to you it's easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than it is to make a little money over a long period of time. Do we have any athletes in here who run, any runners? Okay, so Tim, you run. Do you ever run a mile? Tim runs, so Tim sometimes runs a mile, great. So, can you run a mile right now? Could you run a mile right now if you need to? Okay, so I can't run a mile. I had polio as an infant, I got a brace on my leg, I've never run anywhere in my life. As I like to say, I couldn't run, so I learned how to fight, right? So if Tim and I got in a race, how many of y'all would agree that it wouldn't be fair for us to both go the same distance? How many of y'all would agree with that, right? That's not fair. Like, I can't run, he can run. Obviously, he's gonna like just murderalize me. And so let's go 2 different distances. I'm going to go 2 miles. You're going to run a mile. Uh-oh, did I say it backwards? My dyslexia kicked in again. Yeah, I hate it when I do that. By the way, I'm a directional dyslexic. If I go somewhere, I'll go the wrong way going back to where I came from 9 times out of 10. Okay, so anyway, don't judge me, just pray for me. Okay, so I think I just said that backwards. Since I said it backwards, and I'm a man of my word, I have to stick with my word. So now we're gonna get in this race, and now not only am I gonna lose because I can't run, but now I'm going farther. How many of y'all know I'm gonna get like smeared, right? Wave at me, talk to me, my peeps. Exactly. Everybody say unless. Unless Tim is running and I'm on a bicycle. Because I said he's gonna run a mile, I said I'm gonna go 2 miles. I didn't say I was gonna run 2 miles. You say, what does this have to do with making money? Just pump the brakes, I'm getting there. But that's not fair because I got a bike. By the way, I can ride a bike 2 miles faster than he can run 1 mile. I'd go farther, faster, and use less energy. So what do we learn from that principle? The people who are making way more money than you are not making more money than you because they're working harder than you. In fact, they're making more money than you because they're not working harder than you. Oh, snap. But it gets better. Because that's not fair. I've got a bike, he doesn't have a bike, so we're gonna give him a bike. And now I'm gonna go 4 miles, he's gonna go 2 miles, he's gonna win again. Everybody say unless. Unless I'm in a car. Maybe this is what they mean when they say think and grow rich. But that's not fair. I've got a car, he has a bike. And so let's give Tim a car. So Tim's got a car, he goes 50 miles, I go 100 miles, Tim wins again. Everybody say unless. Unless I'm on a plane. But that's not fair. I've got a plane. He's got a car, let's give him a plane. He goes 100 miles, I go 200 miles, he wins again. Everybody say unless. Unless I'm on a jet. Now you say, Myron, why do you keep doing this? I keep doing this because the principle is this. I can always make up and leverage what I lack in ability. It is always easier to make great strides than it is to make great advances, small advances. It's always, everybody say always. It's always easier to make great strides than it is to make small advances. But because you've been programmed by the cultural hypnotic societal mechanism and you spent the majority of your young life in the government indoctrination camps, AKA child prisons, schools, whatever you want to call them, since you spent most of your life in that arena, what happened was you were programmed to make small advances over a long period of time, and nobody ever taught you how to make great gains over a very short period of time. How many of y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Wave at me. And so what has to happen is if you're gonna make great strides, you have to learn to think differently. I said I can always make up and leverage what I lack in ability. But here's why most people don't do that. Because they don't understand that leveraged work is better than laborious work, yes. Right? It produces more. It uses less energy. It's more effective, it's more efficient, it's better in every conceivable way. And so what you have to do is the reason most people never get rich is because they spend their entire life running financially. But people who make a little bit more money, they get a bicycle. People who make a lot more money, they get a car. People who make more money than they have time to spend, they either have a plane or a jet. Some people are on like intergalactic rocket ships when it comes to finance. See, if you take that same principle, if it's easier to go farther, faster, and use less energy in transportation, it has to be true that it's easier to make more money working less if you have the right leverage. But see, when you tell some people this, even some people watching this video, like because you were programmed to be negative and you think you're skeptical, like I recommend skepticism, right? I'm skeptical. Here's what skeptical means. Skeptical means like, I don't know you, so I don't trust you. So I'll believe you when you prove you're telling the truth. But negativism says, I got my mind made up and I don't want to be confused with the facts, right? No, that can't be true. Okay, well, for you it can't be. So here's why people stay broke, because what they do is you say, look, you can always make up and leverage what you lack in ability, and they say, yeah, but how much does leverage cost? That's a question to ask, but over time, how much does it cost you not to have leverage? That's a better question to ask. And so what happens is they say, yeah, but But then if I get some leverage, then I got to learn how to use it. I don't have time to learn how to use leverage. How many of y'all know I'm telling the truth, right? But I don't know how to do that. Okay. We'll give you a pass today, but if that's still your excuse a year from now, maybe somebody should come get your family and take them to safety. Because you can learn how to do almost anything in a year. So what we have to do is we have to slow down from the running that's all we know is already not working long enough to find some leverage, pay for it if necessary, take the time to learn how to use it if necessary, so we can finally change our lives. Or we can spend the rest of our life in the circle of sameness.